yeah, I know. I just think it sounds very well.
The pronunciation is not bad, but the knowledge of the words, not so hard.
I guess they come to me when I learn it.
Yeah.
Perfecto.
Okay.
camera up there.
What?
I got a camera.
Oh, lots of cameras.
No idea where you're gonna be, or
Cameras.
they might say, oh, we have enough organizations not to use you, but that's okay.
That's fine, yeah.
All right, well,
Yeah,
I'm not
I
gonna-
know, it's weird, cause like, you know,
Oh, hey,
Hey,
it's,
how did Schumer go?
good.
Good.
Try it.
it's not open to the public, so.
How they enforce it?
Well, it's taking up to.
It's not open to the public.
It looks like it is.
So they're gonna like.
What they throw in the face?
Like,
Pardon?
you know, it's not open to the public. It's, what are they gonna do with the mall? Because people are gonna.
I think they're fencing it off and not having anyone down there.
Oh, wow.
So the Capitol Police controls up to 4th Street, and then,
Yeah.
yeah.
She's
People are gonna
late.
gather. And then I think
Late.
the six that has a demonstration permit
they definitely moved the monitor this time, because you could properly see the person. Before it was pretty. Low focus, I think.
It's off.
Yeah. So it's just much better. So I think whatever they did.
I mean, you're shut.
I know. But they literally moved the monitor this time.
Yeah.
It was, again, they're on it. They're good first, so it's fine. And the light on Hammond's screen is just the light is weird on the monitor, because it's so much, there's sunlight, there's an LED light, there's a strobe, there's the incandescent on the wall.
And the fact that he's talking to someone on a monitor.
Yep, and he's got monitor glare, like from,
It's just a weird situation.
that's probably why the gallery was strobing it, because it was not coming out right.
Well, the photo studio is struggling.
That's what I meant, photo studio,
Yeah.
sorry. So what size solo stove did you get, Jacqueline?
I got the, I think the bonfire.
You got the Utah.
Oh my god, so the bonfire was bigger than I expected, and I can only imagine how ginormous. the
Well, other
Yukon
people
is.
have told me, if you can, when you're gonna spend the money, buy the Utah.
Yeah, I don't know, it was a lot more expensive, so
It was, I mean, it was still expensive.
it just felt like egregious, so I didn't go. I went for
Well, I
like a
used
happy
rewards
medium.
for it, so I was okay with it, and like a gift card.
Yeah,
So I was
Oh,
like,
nice.
I didn't feel as egregious about it.
yeah, 'cause it was like so much,
Yeah.
and I wasn't 100% sure how we feel about it. My husband doesn't love it, I like it a lot.
I think it's super cool.
It's super cool, it's just like, in our neighborhood, it's like, it's so portable, I feel like I have to take it in, and then I
Oh
have
no,
to-
I'm gonna put it away every night, there's no way, it's not gonna,
Right, but it's like you have to wait for it to like cool down,
Yeah.
like a more heavy duty one would at least be more permanent in your
Yeah.
yard, But we did it in the front yard and it was super easy. It burns really fast and hot, the marshmallows were like flambéed, it was awesome.
oh, that's awesome.
It was great for
I saw your
marshmallows.
Instagram. She got one too.
Yes.
We had ordered one, it probably won't be here till after March.
No, you should come over for New Year's, we're definitely putting it out tomorrow night.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was extra fun. I mean, well, the flame is so hot that for marshmallowing, you're definitely gonna like get the outside dark and crunchy.
That's
Which
okay.
people don't like, but like the inside was completely melted, and that's usually my complaint with marshmallow fires. Like the outside is crunchy, but the inside's still hard, and you're like, it's not amazing. I was pretty happy. Clearly, my main point of fire is to make marshmallows.
Did you know the story?
Hmm.
Dude, you know the story of the guy with the background?
I Googled it after we saw that picture of all the pool.
Oh, not the car, I mean the guy who owns it.
No, I looked it up on Instagram,
So,
but I didn't Google the guy.
that something doesn't really add up with that.
Well, no, it's probably a lease.
That's
Wow.
what I think it's at least. Because here's the thing,
That's a $2 million car, right?
it is a $2 million car, and supposedly he was on a Tinder date. Now that doesn't make any sense.
No. But none of that does. Like the other guy who used to live that life that blew all his money, the guy with weed, Dan.
Was that a rental? Do you rental? People do that?
I don't know if he well that car, well it had plates. That's what was confusing. It was all the pools with Trump last night took a picture in front of this $2 million car.
Oh, I just thought it was funny from the closing. I didn't realize the car was.
He also
funny.
parked it on the street.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
You just don't do that.
Yeah.
It's not.
Advertising,
True.
and they won.
But if you
because-
can afford that, that
Well,
means you
just
have
put it on there.
you have 100 times that.
Yeah, but it's.
It's when that guy gives out like $100,000 at Christmas, all the time, or
I think he rented it.
I look like a rental to me
Yeah.
too.
There is a lot of money.
Well, they have that at the hotel there in South Beach. Has the vending machine.
Yeah.
You could buy a car,
Yeah.
$100,000 Rolex. You could buy anything you want at this vending machine.
It's like
Yeah,
Dubai.
probably a knockout.
Yeah, literally. I think it's where they got
They
the
got
idea
the
from.
idea from Dubai one.
I can't remember the hotel, but it's like a luxury. It's like a lunch counter. You open up the thing, you put your
I
black
mean,
card in there.
everything says luxury about that except the vending machine. Like,
Well,
that
exactly.
knocks it down.
It's like luxury 7-Eleven. You can get a taquito for $100 versus $4.
you okay with me on this little stool TV?
I'm fine with you, okay?
Okay.
All right, hey, Stills, we're gonna do our regular rotation.
Yep.
So about a minute and a half each.
Thank you.
Each spot.
How many we got outside?
We have about six.
Okay.
Six lined up, so we'll do
Perfect, we get two.
5 in, 5 out, and we'll get you in for the next,
Cool.
set of questions.
Thank you, sounds good. Yeah, you guys should come over to this, I'm definitely gonna try it out.
Yeah, no,
Again.
we're, I don't know what I'm wearing, I think I'll be here is the problem.
Oh, until the bitter end. I took the day off and I'm really, really happy I did now.
Hey Ken, did you get your rolling case out of 151?
No, it's too long. I'll get over there.
I don't know if it's open today.
It's locked.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you're like stripping equipment.
Are you gonna be hanging out down here?
You left something
Okay,
back
because I was
there.
thinking, if we split this back, can I get another photographer back here? Would you be, would you be okay with it if you're there?
I'm fine here.
Okay, all right, then I'm gonna split this. So Ken, can we get you, yeah. So that side, we're gonna do two back here.
Is there?
Oh, yeah.
Back here. So, we're going to.
Matt, can I get over to 151 in a while? Is somebody gonna be there?
It should be open. I'm not gonna be there.
Too long.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the last weekly of this year, of this session of Congress, and of this Congress. Until next week, when we'll be in a new Congress, I wish you a happy new year as we go forward. Sadly, the Congress received the news last evening of the passing of a new member of Congress, Luke Ledlow from Louisiana, due to be sworn in this Sunday, but taken by the coronavirus yesterday. He leaves his wife and two babies, and we extend great sympathy to his family. It's so sad. 41 years old, coronavirus, blood clot, complication, could happen to anyone. And it has happened to nearly 350,000 Americans. Many of those deaths could have been avoided. As we go forward, we must make sure that we are scientific and determined to crush the virus in whatever form it takes. In the meantime, though, let us extend deepest sympathy to their family and to those little babies who have lost their daddy. So here we are in time. As I mentioned, the last meeting of the year for us. Let's just talk about the last week or so. In the last week or so, we sent to the president the legislation. It took some time for it to be enrolled because it was a big bill. He received it on Christmas Eve, 3:30 in the afternoon. He did sign it on Sunday evening, and we were very pleased with that because it had a very strong bipartisan vote in the House and in the Senate. In the course of that week, the president announced his support for the $2,000 direct payment, which we madly embraced and said we join with the president in supporting this, came in on Christmas Eve, were blocked by the Republicans for having a unanimous consent to bring up that legislation. But on Monday in regular session, we brought it forth and it passed with strong bipartisan support. We're very pleased then to send that over to Mitch McConnell and the Senate. The President of the United States has expressed his support for the $2,000. the Democrats and Republicans in the House have passed that legislation. Who is holding up that distribution to the American people? Mitch McConnell and the Senate Republicans. Democratic leader Schumer yesterday asked for unanimous consent to bring it up in the Senate, which was blocked by Mitch McConnell and the Republicans in the Senate. In blocking it, they are in denial of the hardship that the American people are experiencing now, health-wise, financially, in every way. Their lives and livelihood, in many cases, are on the brink. So they're in denial of that need in denying this benefit. I do hope that in the days ahead, we only have a few days left in this session, that they will see the light and understand what the suffering that is going on in our country. Now, I've said before, it's amazing to see the patience that some people have with other people suffering. These Republicans in the Senate seem to have an endless tolerance for other people's sadness. We urge Mitch McConnell to stop his obstruction and to bring that legislation to the floor of the Senate. And we urge Republicans in the Senate to encourage him to do so. It's really important to note how important this money in the pockets of American people are. If they have the resources, they spend it, they inject demand into the economy. That is job creating. It's important to note that with the bill that we passed last week, that the President signed, that we sent over last week and that the President signed on Sunday evening, brought us up to nearly $1 trillion for small businesses in our country. $1 trillion, just about $950 billion. And we support that. We know that small business is the lifeblood of our economy. The most optimistic thing you can do is to start a small business, your hopes and dreams, your ideas, your vision. But for those small businesses to take advantage of that money, they have to have customers. It's not enough to keep the doors open if nobody's walking through. And that's why these direct payments are so necessary. And for those small businesses to thrive, they must have services provided by state and local government. Our healthcare providers, our heroes, healthcare providers, transportation, sanitation, first responders, police and fire, our teachers, our teachers, our teachers. And that's why in this next session of Congress, in the new Congress with a new president, we must pass legislation that not only honors our heroes, but recognizes the services that they provide, enable our lives to function, our businesses to thrive, our economy to prosper, and our people to be healthy. So that will be a very important part of what we do next. But you would think that there would at least be the immediate recognition that the money in the pockets of the American people helps those small businesses thrive. Just for, I've had the poster here before. It's a bigger number now than before. About $950 billion, nearly $1 trillion to small business. $160 billion to state and local government. 950, 160. State and local government, healthcare workers, police and fire, teachers, sanitation, transportation, food workers, 160, 950. But we need more here to exploit the opportunity that is here. And in the meantime, this $2,000 will go a long way, not only to sustain the financial security of America's working families, but will help small business to thrive as well. So these things are all connected. At the same time, as we had a good day on Monday, passing in bipartisan fashion the CASH Act, caring for Americans with supplemental health, the CASH Act. We also that day had an overwhelming vote to override the president's veto of the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA. An overwhelming vote, 314 to 87. 109 Republicans voted to override the president's veto. We hope that the Senate will follow suit. They had a big, strong vote in the Senate in favor of this bill. Hopefully they will stand by their votes there and sustain the veto, overturn the veto of the president. We'll see. Okay, so that's what happened in the past week. In the past week, we have also seen reports of the vaccine distribution not measuring up to what we need to have a fair, equitable distribution of the vaccine that is free. I support what President-elect Joe Biden said yesterday, that in his administration, the 100 million vaccinations in a short period of time, that he would engage the Defense Production Act to make sure that we not only have the vaccines, but the means to make the inoculation. It's one thing to be in the lab, another thing to be in the arm. There's a lot in between in terms of logistics, in terms of administration, in terms of materials. And one of the things that is holding up the further vaccinations in the country is this administration, the Trump administration's lack of cooperation on the distribution of syringes and other things that go into that, and holding up some of the vaccine as well. So this has to be done better. This has to be done better. And let's hope in the last few weeks of the Trump administration that they will follow the science, that they will make the vaccines available, that they will make the syringes and other materials available so that we can have many more people vaccinated even before the inauguration. This vaccine, this pandemic, is horrible. I mean, in every way. The lives and livelihoods of the American people are affected by it in a massive way. However, it has also pulled back the curtain to reveal further disparities in our economy and in our society. They have come into sharper focus because of the pandemic. And that is why I have asked the Rules Committee that we will be taking up the new rules package on Monday, or Sunday night if the schedule allows, but following the vote for Speaker. I will have them announce in the next day or so, when they put forth the rules package, a select committee on economic disparity and fairness and growth. As we go into this new Congress, we have to have a scientific start on crushing the virus. We have to honor our heroes, state and local government, and we have to put money into the pockets of the American people. Hopefully we can do this on this side of the weekend rather than waiting until later. The third point, direct payments. That has always been our goal. Crush the virus, honor our heroes, money in the pockets of the American people. Clearly, the disparities in income and equity in our country are vast. We've known that. They've only gotten worse. And the pandemic, again, puts it in sharper focus. And that's why I'm proud to announce the creation of a new bipartisan select committee on economic disparity and fairness in growth, which will be essential force for the Congress to combat the crisis of income and wealth disparity in America. Our members are full of exuberance and many suggestions on both sides of the aisle. Yesterday, some proposed to me $2,000 a month as we go through this bad time. Others, Congresswoman Jayapal has a wage guarantee legislation. Others, Congresswoman Murphy has the the employment retention tax credit, which is in the bill that the president just signed, somewhat. But there are others, sovereign wealth funds to give the income to poor families in America. Other bonding issues to try to address the fact that the middle class is the backbone of our democracy. When that is weakened, so is our democracy. So this is to address not only the middle class, but those who aspire to the middle class. But the disparity has only grown. And so as a model for this, as you may recall, when we did Mr. Clyburn's committee, we used the Truman Committee as a reference to how to save money, save lives. This is something that it's modeled after the mission of the Temporary National Economic Committee, founded by President Roosevelt and the Congress after the Great Depression to study and combat the concentration of wealth in America and its role in triggering economic collapse. This is what President Roosevelt said at the time. He said, the liberty of a democracy is not safe if the people tolerate the growth of private power to a point where it becomes stronger than their democratic state itself. The liberty of a democracy is not safe if its business system does not provide employment and produce and distribute goods in a way as to sustain an acceptable standard of living. That is why we are creating this select committee, which will be a resource to the Congress to make policy related to economic fairness, access to education and workforce development, etc. And again, we'll work with the committees of jurisdiction. This is not a legislative committee. It is a committee to make recommendations. The committees of jurisdiction have all done a great job. Our Education and Labor Committee, Ways and Means Committee, Energy and Commerce Committee, Financial Service, the list, they have done a great job in trying to address these concerns legislatively. We need a bigger spotlight on the problem and on some of the solutions so that we can all participate in the very worthy suggestions that are made. And again, we will empower American economic growth while ensuring that no one is left behind in the 21st century economy that we are putting forth. So we're very excited about our new president-elect, and that in 3 weeks we will have a new president. It's pretty exciting. President and vice president making history, that we have the gavel, that we have held the Congress. We look forward to what's happening in Georgia on Tuesday. So every day is action-packed, but I just wanted to review some of what happened in the past week to take us to this point. This point, $2,000 direct payment to the American people, being held up by Mitch McConnell, the same person who put a $160 billion tax break for the wealthiest people and firms in America in the CARES Act. $160 billion in the CARES Act for the wealthiest in our country, refusing $2,000 to those who need it most. To the same Republicans in the Congress who eagerly passed a tax bill that gave 83% of the benefits to the top 1%, taking us well into debt, nearly $2 trillion for our children to pay off so that they could have a tax break for the wealthy, with the mythology that it would trickle down, and it has not, nor has it ever. Mitch McConnell removed the obstacle that you have, the American people having the opportunity to have that direct payment, and do it now. Any questions? Yes, ma'am?
Madam Speaker, do you plan to seat Ms. Miller Meeks on Sunday, and are you confident that you're going to have a Dem majority present?
Yes, and yes.
And then,
yes, sir.
On the stimulus checks, we're hearing on the Senate side that time is running out. Are you going to commit to bringing this idea back of $2,000 checks next week if it does die in this Congress?
Well, let's be hopeful that it can happen this week, because the sooner it happens, the sooner the checks go out. So we're not giving up on it. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, is advocating for it. The Congress, in a bipartisan way in the House, has voted for it. It would have bipartisan support in the Senate if Mitch McConnell would only allow it to come to the floor instead of being an obstruction to those checks going to the American people.
One additional question. We're just hearing from Josh Hawley that he's going to object on January
Yeah.
6th and force a debate on electoral college votes. Could you comment on that move from the Republicans?
I have no doubt that on next Wednesday, a week from today, that Joe Biden will be confirmed by the acceptance of the vote of this Electoral College as the 46th President of the United States. Yes, ma'am.
Madam Speaker, an overview from you. You've kept your caucus together with a fighting spirit this year through very hard times. Did the events of 2020 help keep your caucus cohesion? And secondly, what are your thoughts on a slimmer majority next week?
Well, we are very excited about having won the House. We have the gavel, the Speaker's gavel. We also have 132 other gavels of chairs and subcommittees. And they are, again, many of them in the hands this past term of freshmen and newer members of Congress, and we're excited about that. 18 freshmen had gavels. That was historic. There had been nothing even close to that before. I have every confidence. Our caucus is unified around our common ethical belief in our responsibility to America's working families. That's what brings us together. Of course, we have our differences in approach and some other ideas, and that's our vitality. I would not want to be a leader of a party that was rubber stamp, lockstep. That's called Republicans. We, the Democratic Party, are democratic in every way, including respecting the views of all in our caucus. So I have great confidence that on an agenda that is there for America's working families, we will have the unity that we need to proceed under the leadership of Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, the Biden-Harris administration, and hopefully with the Democratic Senate, we'll see what next week brings. Okay? Thank you all. Thank you all very much.
Happy New Year.
See you Sunday.
Happy New Year.